My name is Jonathan Fitzwater, and I have decided to do my folklore presentation on St. Christopher, who is also known as the patron saint of travelers. I've decided to do so based on the deep personal meaning that St. Christopher has in my life. I conducted my research via the armchair approach, as well as including personal experiences from my own life. The main question I had during my research was, why is St. Christopher known as the patron saint of travelers? Well, I quickly realized that in order to answer this question, I needed to understand who he was and how he became known as a saint in the first place. After conducting my research, I learned that he was mainly given the title based on how many travelers he helped, both physically and spiritually, along their journeys in life. Through my research, I also learned that his name was Reforbus, or the Reject, but his name after baptism was Christopher, or the Christ Bearer. He was often thought to be a giant in his time, which helped him to physically aid travelers. He is believed to have lived during the reign of Decius, and although we believe he died in year 251, we don't actually know when he was born. His feast day is July 25th in the Latin Church and May 9th in the Eastern churches. Early in his life, he decided that he wanted to serve the strongest lord in all of the land. This led him to leave the king of Canaan to search for a more powerful lord. He soon found a new king to serve, but left him after seeing the king cross himself upon mention of the devil. He soon happened upon a gang whose leader called himself the devil, but also left the service of the gang after the supposed devil told him that no man was more powerful than Christ. While searching for Christ, Christopher happened upon a hermit who taught him many lessons about Christ and convinced him that a great service would be to help weary travelers across a dangerous river. One night, he helped a young child who seemed to grow with weight in each step. On the opposite bank, the child confessed to Christopher that he had just carried not only the weight of Christ across the river, but the weight of the world as well. Christopher then dedicated his life to the Christ. After helping Christ across the river, Christopher left his small home and journey of the city of Lycia. After arriving, he was soon thought to be a fool by many of the citizens for not knowing the language, but after praying to learn it, he could speak perfectly the next day. He then went to the area of the city where many Christian men were being martyred for believing in Christ, and he prayed with them. It's believed that during this time he converted over 8,000 men to Christianity, to include many of the tyrant king's men. The king was upset by this, so he set his men to capture Christopher in the act multiple times. When they finally caught him, the king ordered him to be killed. The king did this on two separate occasions, once by fire and once by iron, but neither marked Christopher. He then had 40 archers fire arrows at him, but all hovered in air feet away from him before one turned and struck the king in the eye. Christopher then agreed with the king on an execution if he prayed to Christ about his eye. After the beheading, the king prayed and his eye was healed. He then declared Christopher to be a saint and for no one to speak ill of him or be slayed with a sword. The current belief is what was mentioned earlier, that St. Christopher is the patron saint of travelers. Many across the world are known to wear a medallion showing Christopher carrying Christ on his shoulder, or to even recite St. Christopher's prayer before traveling. Many members of the United States military look to him for protection while traveling across the globe, whether to battle or to simply a new duty station. As I mentioned earlier, I have a rather deep personal connection to St. Christopher. At my parents' wedding, my grandfather passed on his St. Christopher medallion to my father. My father then passed it on to me the night before he passed away. During my travels around the world in the Marine Corps, I wanted to ensure that I was always under the protection of St. Christopher, so, like many others, I got a tattoo of the saint on my body. The last thing that I would like to share with you is St. Christopher's Prayer. Many will recite this prayer before they depart on a lengthy travel, whether it be by foot, bike, car, boat, or plane. It is believed that St. Christopher will look out for you, both physically and spiritually during your travels, if you simply ask him for his protection. This project has helped me to gain a better understanding of a subject that I already held close to my heart.